So here's the little mini restoration over 2 weeks on this 1989 350D, one of the first Honda quad bikes Honda ever released. So yeah, I just ordered a shit ton of parts for it and slapped them all on over the past couple of weeks. So a lot of small things like decals, stickers, all the warning stickers everywhere. Any ones that were missing are replaced, like the helmet holder, for example, and all these stickers. So, and even these ones. So they're all original copies of original, you could say. And then, a lot of bolts. So when I ran this when I was younger, I didn't have many skills, so I destroyed a lot of bolts, wrung a lot of bolts, and just didn't replace them with the OEM stuff. So now I got all OEM bolts wherever I can, where available. That was nice. All these little things that wear out as well. Rubbers were torn. These little pads, bushes in the rack. That just lifts up and down. There's also other things like the seat. So it'd be nice to get new foam on this, but this panel for the toolkit was missing. The wing nut, the tool bag. So I bought all new tools there and there to make a full kit. All these rubber bushings and pads, or like stops or whatever you want to call them. These are all brand new. They had failed. So when I was younger, I kind of did small jobs, like all the lights were fresh when I was younger, and then a muffler was new. So yeah, other little things was reflectors and things, like the front reflectors are never on it, so I got orange reflectors now up front. Little things like this as well. I had hooked up a fan override switch. My camera's all over the place. With a fan override switch, but I've discovered the fan doesn't work, so I need to get a new fan. But that just overrides the thermostat kind of thing. But then I guess onto the big stuff. So, before I move on to the big stuff, next thing would be to find a rear fender. So that's all cracked. That's a better view, but that's all cracked. It'd be nice to. Let's try and source a new one, used one in good condition. But for the big stuff, I did all the steering bushes, dust seals, and bearings and everything. So the whole shaft got new stuff in it. So this used to be super sloppy and it would kind of pull you off the road. But that's rock solid right now. Also got front brakes. So put in full new, I think it's from a later series Honda, but you can actually modified it slightly to suit this. So now I got full brakes, cylinders, pads, springs, all the hardware, everything. So this is all the old gear in the depths of this box. So that's all the old crap that came out, and we got new gear in there. So whilst I was in the front doing the brakes, my dad was helping me with this one, but we did all the bearings. So all new bearings in the front, and I did a little bit of a tracking alignment as well after putting in all the steering bushes. This was a bit off. The diffs drained out all the oils. Bolts are kind of damaged. The drain bolts are damaged, so got them out with a bit of heat. Put in new bolts and washers just now actually, and all new oil. So flushed it out rinsed it all out with fresh oil and then put new oil into it. So it's nice to have that major stuff done: steering, brakes and bearings and the diff oils. Did little things as well with the engine. So adjustments kind of in the engine were valve adjustments on the exhaust inlet valves. So they're sweet now, 0.08 mil or something, or 0.08 mil. Shimmed them, or checked them with shims and things. So that's all done. The only thing that's wrong with this right now, and will be on next year's agenda when I'm home, is to kind of seal off the rocker cover. Somebody was in here before we ever got the quad, so there's a bit of damage. One of the bolts is damaged here, so I replaced it with a better one, and I've put like Honda Bond in here, so they never came with a gasket on this rocker cover. but I just use, we were meant to use Honda Bond, which is a Honda product, and it's a gasket sealer, and there's some, I don't really know the details, but there's something about the RTV silicone breaking down and blocking galleries, whereas this doesn't. Don't fully understand it, but next year it'd be nice to pop this off, put on Honda Bond everywhere, replace any bolts that I can get, and source, and that'd be sweet, because I think there's even the covers, the inspection covers, the O-rings are leaking, so that's another thing. There's a few issues in here with leaks, but I'll get that sorted next year. Adjusted the clutch as well, so you have clutch adjustment over here. So adjusted the clutch, and also put on new O-rings in here because this was leaking a little bit as well. There's also a new fuel pump. Well, before I move on, I think that's it from the engine really. Put a magnetic sump plug in there as well, so in the engine, just to collect any metal or clutch disc wear. And then we move on to the fuel system. So this got a full overhaul. It's an OEM copy of the pump, which fits perfectly in the original bracketry and everything. The wiring harness, I didn't chop it because I had a different aftermarket pump in it when I was younger. But it looks like, I didn't do any damage to the wiring. So the original plugs are up here, and I was able to just plug in the pretty much OEM spec pump. So that's new. This is where a lot of work went on. So Dad and I removed the tank. This bracket was split here and cracked here. So the tank was just kind of flopped down to one side. So we removed the tank, removed the bracketry, welded up the brackets, emptied out the tank of any rust or dirt and grit that's in the bottom of it, and we removed. So this model has a digital fuel gauge, which is what this is. Let's turn on the key. This never worked when I was younger, but there's a little cinder unit in here, and the shaft that it sways on was just holding on by just barely holding on to the mechanism, so the float was kind of just loose and not making a connection with the circuitry. So pulled that all out, repaired it with put a new shaft in it, and put it all back together, a new O-ring on the seal, painted in there so it doesn't rust anymore. Down here, the cinder unit kind of thing. So that's all nice and lubed up and whatever. So I was delighted. I removed this cinder unit and I just went over, plugged it into the harness and moved it up and down, and the gauge started to work. So that was a delight. I thought something would have been totally buggered. And that's that. Fuel tank, replaced any bolts that were missing, pads and things that might have been missing. So that was that one. And then in here was there's a lot going on with regards to the panels and things that kind of extend in under the seat, and there's like starter relays and different things in there. So it was a bit of a mess with bolts missing, and it was just all loose. So I got all OEM bolts, washers, and everything's snug and secure. Got all the original clips and everything there. So that's an absolute winner. You can see here as I'm closing this up, but all these big bolts on the fenders, they were all rusted out, so removed them, put in new ones on all four corners. And rear brakes. So remove this shaft at the rear, pulled out the entire spindle, lubed it all up, cleaned it essentially and lubed it all up, so the brakes are just nicer now, and there's new pads and new springs and things in the rear as well. New diff oils in the rear, and probably forgotten something, but it's basically got a ton of love in the space of 2 weeks, 2 and a bit weeks, and it's a weapon. So what else? I don't know what else I did. Trying to think on the fly before I wrap this up, but probably covered most big things. So next year it'll be the rocker cover, things like this. Might get a new bolt because they wear out, so I'll buy a new one of them. and that should tie me over. There you go. Hope you enjoyed the tour.